Yes. ESL Metalopolis is the place to be, and ZVZ shall be our matchup. And I bring you Sen in the blue trunks. He is playing Zerg, needless to say. I've actually seen him play Protoss, funnily enough. He played Protoss and TL Attack.
Protoss.
Yeah, he built 28 carriers, 3-3, standard. And he is against his opponent right here, Protosser in the red trunks, who is also playing Zerg to the west of the Metalopolis.
So, strategies on this map. Well, first of all, they're not going to scout that they're close by air, so they'll immediately know where each other's spawned. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sen opens up hatchery first. It's becoming the standard now. And a lot of builds you see that kind of counteract 15 hatch, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pools. Thing is, when that happens, you can usually defend with pure drones.
Yeah.
The drone control, sending them to one side of the mineral patch, then to the other, and then attack moving when all the lings are inside. It's a great technique to do if you are struggling against those kind of builds, and that's probably what would happen if that scenario happened. But look in the prediction tab, that is not happening. We're going to be droning up heavily in Protosser,
yes,
wanting to take it to the macro game.
I don't blame him. His macro was really solid the last game. As I said, it was that one big mistake of hanging around for too long outside of the base of Sen and applying that contain for just a little bit too long, and then of course losing his roach as a direct result of that. That cost him the game in the long run. So I think he's probably feeling pretty confident. No doubt he's identified that error in his play. He's thinking, well, I'm not going to make that same mistake again. I want to think about my timings. I want to think about, well, what happens if I end up behind in terms of road speed? What happens if he gets Infestors out before me? Let's take the third. Let's get the solid economic advantage, and then let's defend, because why would you not? If you're on 3 hatcheries, your opponent's on 2, you've got more money coming in, you've got more gas coming in, as you said before, gas so critical to ZVZ, and you have more lava available to produce more units. So why would you not want to be on the defensive?
Yeah, and the problem with being on the defensive this time is the Metalopolis is so wide open, the natural, actually. So you'll see a lot more of 2-base timing attacks on this map simply because of that. You'll see that Roach Ling +1 with speed Lings are just going to demolish a lot harder than on Shakir's Plateau, for example, because we saw Protosser defend and then we saw Sen defend against those kind of attacks. But on this map, it's not so viable. So we actually saw Sen go spawning pool, then Extractor. And Protosser actually went Extractor, then Spawning Pool. So Protosser's gone for the exact same build, whereas we have Sen with a lower gas count, meaning he can go for a Baneling Nest pretty much as soon as the Spawning Pool finishes, if he wants to play more defensive with Banelings, or he can then just pull a few out of the gas and add a Roach Warrens shortly and start production of those Roaches. You don't need to start the Extractor that early. If you're going to go for roaches, obviously you have to build the roach warren first.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, you will be accused of hacking, unfortunately, and we don't like that in this particular tournament, do we?
Not at all. No hacking today, and we are going to see Sen go for the roach warren. I'm wondering if he'll go speed. I guess he'll go speed first, and then you spend the rest of the gas in roaches. So we have a roach opening again from Sen, and another passive game. At the early stages from Sen versus Protosser. I'm sure Protosser will be throwing down his own Roach Warren very, very shortly here, as we see in the main base. It's going to go down just there. Oh, it's actually a Baneling nest, surprisingly.
That's an intriguing idea.
This is going to be difficult because Sen's gone for this, and the question's going to be, but can these Lings scout the Roach Warren?
Well, he takes one, and he's... Oh, nicely done there. Did he see it? Yes, he absolutely is aware of this. Now, the question is this going to affect Protosser's decision to go Baneling Nest? As you've said, this map has a very large, wide-open natural, and it's very, very common to go for aggressive Baneling harassment against this natural because you can nail down his drones. Now, Sen can, of course, wall off against any attack into his main, and will no doubt do that with Roaches and Queens. And needless to say, Banelings do basically nothing against roaches. But if Protosser is confident that he can get into the macro game, what he wants to do is to try and restrict the amount of minerals and gas being mined by his opponent. What better way to do that than annihilating the mineral line? Yeah. And that's a very large Zergling spawn right there by Protosser. He's going to follow it up with a Roach Warren, but it's very likely we're going to see some early Baneling harassment, and here come the Banelings.
Well, the Banelings are morphed in a defensive position here. They're not going to be using aggressive position simply because there's roaches. They're going to get sniped off immediately. It's a waste of going Baneling. So usually we see players cancel the Baneling Nest because of that, but he's going to keep it because the way that Sen plays is very aggressive with Lings, as you can see, 16 in production. Yes. So Speedlings and Roach attacks. And he's literally going to have to defend with Banelings and Lings. So it's going to come down to who has better control. Can Protosser launch a Baneling onto a bunch of Lings, or will Sen snipe the Banelings first? Whoever wins that kind of micro battle will always come out on top in these fights.
Looks for the surround right here with this initial engagement, trying to nail these Roaches down. Of course, Roach is extremely resilient to this kind of attack, but still a lot of damage being done, and he's worn this down. And that means, of course, there's a possibility of also doing heavy Baneling damage. Roaches don't take a lot of damage from Banelings, and needless to say, you're going to want to try and attack that, but if you wear the Roaches down a bit, yes, they can die to it nonetheless. And it depends how much Sen clumps up. As he goes in right there, oh, straight run by into the main, and right now Protosser having to pull all of his drones, trying to defend with Roaches. They're immediately annihilated, and there is the Roach attack. Banelings detonating, they're taking a good amount of damage from those Zerglings, and Roaches nailed down with Protosser gives it up immediately. A very nice, quick, aggressive killing stroke.